Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time. We've now arrived at the climax of this occasion, and that's the keynote address by His Excellency the President. Please be silent for the number one gentleman of the Republic of Sierra Leone, His Excellency the retired Julius Madam, a man who says what he means and means what he sees. As far as this president is concerned, this law was a bad law and should be repealed, full stop. This was why in his elections manifesto he wanted to repeal the law. And true to his words, that has happened amongst many unfulfilled manifesto promises. This president, ladies and gentlemen, had and remains consistent in the zest to expand democratic spaces in Sierra Leone as well as improve the lives of Sierra Leoneans. At this juncture, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to invite most respectfully His Excellency the President to deliver the keynote address. Your Excellency.
Thank you very much, Mamadi. The Honorable Speaker of Parliament, the Lord the Chief Justice, Ministers of Government, Deputy Ministers, Honorable Members of Parliament, members of the Diplomatic and Consular Corps, representatives of civil society and the rights organizations, distinguished members of the Fourth Estate. Today, we are distinguished members, and I'm wearing a smile, and I am gifting that to you. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Today, I would like to start today's address with an exciting announcement by NACOVAC that night curfew is lifted for a period of 4 weeks. And we have been assisting course for us to lift this curfew. And I start to wonder what people do after 11 o'clock. There is time to work, there should be time to sleep and rest for the next day. But the calls are so persistent that we are giving consideration, and that is why we are doing it for only 4 weeks and see. We want to check what you actually do, and you can see that. As with everything related to our management of COVID-19, we are intentional and thoughtful in making this decision. We observe the trends, implications and outcomes, and we make other decisions based on science. But let me remind every Sierra Leonean that COVID-19 is a deadly pandemic, and I urge every citizen to continue to adhere to all health directives and protocols on frequently and properly washing hands, properly wearing face masks, and maintaining safe distance. 2 days ago, I met with the leadership of the INC and the Ministry of Information and Communication. We discussed how we could support 130 registered newspapers in this country, 165 registered radio stations, and 42 registered television stations to thrive and evolve in a country with an endless history of pioneering journalism in West Africa. In this Global Expression Report 2019-2020, the state of freedom of expression around the world, Sierra Leone has been ranked by the Global Organization Article 19 among the top 5 countries in Africa for facilitating and supporting freedom of expression. It is an acclamation well deserved and a moment of inspiration to aspire to do more. And that's why we are here today. As previous speakers have indicated, my government made a firm manifesto commitment to repeal the 55-year-old criminal seditious libel law, Part 5 of the Public Order Act of 1965. We follow through in the cabinet, and as a government, we have made history. I want to thank the Honourable Speaker of Parliament and all members of Parliament, and for what they did on that day, the show of unity in diversity. We can be united if we are given the right things to do and provided with the right leadership, and that is what he proved to the nation and to the world. For more than a century, we had a legislative and a governance regime that criminalized journalism. Successive governments had failed to abolish this law that threatened civil liberties and had been abused over the course of half a century by successive governments. But the criminal and seditious libel law was simply a bad law. It was simply a bad law. The law presumed that persons arrested were guilty even before they were tried. Truth could not be a strong defense, or any defense at all. With the application of the law, everybody involved in the production and dissemination of the alleged libelous publication or broadcast could be liable for summary prosecution and imprisonment. To wit, bad government persists by avoiding scrutiny. They believe that they thrive when they cast every statement from journalists that is critical of them or seek accountability as hostile and posing a clear and present posing a danger on their power, threats to the security of the state. That government foster a climate of silence and fear. They prevent scrutiny of their tenure and actions as leaders. But we have made a commitment to the people of this country that we will foster a culture of good governance and accountability. We therefore made a firm commitment from the outset that we will remove all laws that will chill free speech. Enforcing criminal libel laws contravenes international democratic governance practices. It contravenes international human rights treaties to which Sierra Leone is a signatory, including Article 19 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and Article 19, subsection 3 of the International Convention on Civil and Political Rights. All of those international commitments condemn limitation to the rights to free speech. But the impetus for removing the law has also come from within Sierra Leone. A criminal libel law infringes the letter and spirit of the fundamental rights to the freedom of expression of the press as provided for in Section 25 of the 1991 Constitution of Sierra Leone. In its annual report, the Human Rights Commission of Sierra Leone had recommended that the criminal libel law be expunged from our laws. The last convened Constitutional Review Committee had also recommended for the law to be removed. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission report of 2004 also strongly recommended for the criminal libel law to be removed. So what we have done is therefore not unprecedented. It is not about scoring political points or ticking boxes for an international checklist on democratic governance. It has been informed by our unique history, a blameworthy past, and my government's fervent belief that we must break with the past towards a more open, participatory, and accountable democracy. True to our promise, my government has already undertaken to legislate into existence a permanent and independent commission for national cohesion, forge a closer working relationship with civil society, strengthening community engagement and strengthening local government, and we are also supporting the growth of the Sierra Leone Association of Journalists, SLAJ. So along with striking out a bad law, what we are doing as a government in totality is about strengthening our democracy as a whole. Obviously, there have been naysayers both within the government and among the general public. They have argued, and understandably so, that removing criminal and seditious libel law will open the floodgate of irresponsible and unethical journalism. As we have seen in this country, a few rogue elements could stop at nothing to freely slander and destroy the reputation of government officials and citizens. Some have done so for money, favors, or because of their narrow partisan or ethnic inclinations. There have been toxic partisan platforms for political propaganda, vindictive persecution, rumor-mongering and speculation about people's personal lives and motives, and even ethnic innuendos. The impact of that sort of journalism has been to widen cracks and fault lines in our country, and we don't need that at all. Yes, I know the feeling. For years, I was reported to own phantom million-dollar businesses in Ghana and an unending stash of dollars and pound sterling in foreign accounts from Hong Kong to the Caribbean. That is not to mention personal attack on my person, my family, career, service, ethnicity, work, and even more. So I understand why citizens will feel more vulnerable to this sort of journalism. But that will be assuming that citizens will always misuse democratic freedoms. As I have maintained, the criminal libel and seditious laws chill free speech, undermine the free expression of all civil liberties, and denied space for legitimate investigative journalism, and so on and so forth. Government should be open to more scrutiny, not less. Equally so, what we need is not to criminalize perceived irresponsible behavior, but to create a space for citizens to experience the alternative, responsible, objective, investigative, and the professional reporting of events. I've always argued that the repeal will unshackle free speech, expand democratic spaces, and consolidate our democracy. It will open up the space for the growth of the media industry in our country. Professionalism will be enhanced, and the best and the brightest and more women especially will be encouraged to work their trade. There are still sufficient fail-safe mechanisms for the odd rogue elements anyway. Media houses will be encouraged to abide by their editorial guidelines. Courts may still consider private civil lawsuits, as have been stated by the minister. The Independent Media Commission will enforce the media codes of practice, and the SLAG Disciplinary Committee will ensure the highest level of professionalism in its ranks. So my argument is simple. Civilized and democratic countries cannot be seen as jailers of journalists when journalists exercise their professional responsibility to report objectively and ethically. My government believes that journalists should legitimately and professionally report on matters of public interest without fear or favor. What we must do is create an atmosphere that is conducive to more professionalism, one that strengthens the content and nature of professional reporting of journalists, and one in which journalists can operate freely without fear of undue harassment, arbitrary arrest, or imprisonment. For a start, my government will review the cases of all persons facing charges of criminal and seditious libel under the law. My government will also support an investment conference on the media with a view to supporting enhanced private sector investment in the media. I expect more interagency collaboration on opening up opportunities in the media for more women to actively participate in the journalism profession. I also expect more dialogue among government, civil society, and communities on what freedom of speech in its entirety means and how it supports good governance in our country. So I will conclude by thanking everybody who has contributed throughout this exceedingly long historic fight. We cannot name everybody, but thank you all for fighting to repeal this obnoxious law. By continuing to strive to open up guaranteed spaces for the full participation of unfettered voices, we deepen our democracy. By protecting and guaranteeing free speech and freedoms, we will encourage a vigorous culture of scrutiny and debate that is good for the future and development of this country. On that note, I congratulate the media and Sierra Leone for bringing to an end half a century of an obnoxious law. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency.